Welcome back to Fantasy Case Files. I'm Stephen Cross, and today we're diving into a particularly twisted fairy tale nightmare. Picture this. What if Cinderella's glass slippers weren't magical shoes, but GPS tracking devices used to monitor trafficked women? What if Prince Charming wasn't searching for true love, but running a criminal empire? And what if the fairy godmother was actually an FBI agent working undercover? The glass slipper case had everything: organized crime, human trafficking, and enough high society corruption to make your head spin. But here's the kicker that'll leave you questioning everything. The person who brought down this entire operation, she wasn't who anyone thought she was. Not the FBI, not the criminals, not even herself. So buckle up, because this Cinderella story doesn't end with happily ever after. It ends with handcuffs, body bags, and a revelation that shocked even seasoned federal agents. Let's begin. FBI Special Agent Ella Ashford had seen ugly cases before, but the glass slipper investigation made her want to burn her entire wardrobe. The exclusive escort service operated from a renovated mansion, advertising itself as a companion agency for discerning gentlemen. Their tagline: "Every woman a princess." Their definition of princess involved handcuffs, fake passports, and psychological manipulation. The operation came to FBI attention when Maria Santos, a 22-year-old model, escaped during a client meeting. She stumbled into a police station wearing a hotel bathrobe and an expensive diamond bracelet she couldn't remove. The bracelet contained a GPS tracker smaller than a pill, the glass slipper's modern take on asset tracking. Maria's story was textbook trafficking. She'd answered an online ad for fairy tale casting modeling agency. They offered her a contract, signing bonus, and immediate work. What they didn't mention was servicing clients who paid $5,000 to $50,000 per night. The Tremaine family ran it like a corporation. Victoria Tremaine handled recruitment. Her daughters, Drizella and Anastasia, managed operations and client relations. They even had HR, if you could call systematically breaking down young women's self-worth human resources. The FBI had watched the Tremaines for months, but providing their connection was like nailing pudding to a wall. Their legitimate businesses provided perfect money laundering cover. Their social standing meant rubbing shoulders with judges and politicians inclined to look the other way. Enter Ella, 28, brown hair, average height, exactly the Tremaine type. She'd go undercover as Elena Ashworth, a struggling actress from Ohio with big dreams and empty pockets. The perfect victim profile. The Tremaines took the bait quickly. Within 2 weeks, she was living in a company apartment, attending etiquette training, and being fitted for her first glass slipper. A stunning ankle bracelet worth more than her annual salary, impossible to remove without proper tools. Her first client assignment: a charity ball with a man whose name appeared on both the FBI's most wanted list and next month's governor's fundraising dinner invitation. The midnight charity ball attracted the city's elite like flies to extremely expensive honey. Politicians, business moguls, and socialites mingled under crystal chandeliers at the Crystal Palace Hotel, writing tax-deductible checks while participating in activities that would make those same causes weep. Ella's client was Vincent Charles, a man the FBI had been trying to connect to money laundering and one suspicious yacht explosion. Charles was charming like venomous snakes are beautiful, aesthetically pleasing until you see the fangs. He introduced Ella as his visiting college niece, which was sweet if it weren't code for something less family-friendly. She spent the evening collecting business cards and memorizing faces, until she spotted Detective Ray Morrison across the ballroom. Morrison worked organized crime and regularly attended FBI briefings. If he recognized her from agency meetings, her cover would be blown, along with 6 months of investigation and possibly her life expectancy. She had 30 seconds before he'd either approach or alert security. Either option would identify her as law enforcement, which in the Tremaine organization was permanently career-limiting. Ella grabbed champagne and threw it at Charles, then slapped him hard enough to be heard 3 tables away. The ballroom went silent. She played the outraged escort perfectly, accusing him of inappropriate suggestions. Her performance was so convincing that 2 other women started applauding, apparently recognizing the situation. Security escorted her out, but not before she had created enough of a scene to make Morrison think twice. Sometimes the best way to hide is making everyone look at you. But Ella's exit had unexpected consequences. Victoria Tremaine approached her in the hotel lobby, offering sympathy and a ride home. During the 20-minute car ride, Victoria revealed more about the organization than 6 months of surveillance had uncovered. Client lists, offshore accounts, and something called the Midnight Protocol, a contingency plan for eliminating loose ends. What Victoria didn't say, but what Ella figured out, was that she was probably about to become one of those loose ends. Ella returned to her apartment knowing she had maybe 12 hours before becoming a liability. She'd gathered enough evidence to bring down the organization, but first had to survive long enough to deliver it. She began copying files from hidden cameras and preparing to contact her supervisor. That's when she found the photographs. Taped under her kitchen table were surveillance photos of FBI Special Agent Ella Ashford, at her apartment, at the FBI building, having coffee with her supervisor. The photos were dated from 3 weeks ago, almost from the moment she'd started undercover. Someone inside the FBI was feeding information to the Tremaines. She was blown from the beginning and probably walking into a trap. At least now she knew why the Tremaines had been so eager to recruit her. Nothing says perfect victim like an FBI agent who doesn't know she's compromised. Ella called Victoria Tremaine directly and offered to sell out the FBI investigation in exchange for a permanent position. She claimed she was tired of government salary and ready for real money. Victoria agreed to meet at the Glass Slipper Mansion at midnight. Ella arrived wearing a wire, carrying fake FBI intelligence, and expecting to die. Instead, she found Vincent Charles tied to a chair, very much deceased, and Victoria standing over his body with a bloody crowbar. Charles had been skimming money and selling client information to competitors. Victoria discovered his betrayal the night Ella threw champagne at him. The timing was coincidental, but it saved Ella's life. Charles was supposed to eliminate her after the ball. But here's the twisted part. As Ella watched Victoria dispose of evidence, she realized something chilling about those surveillance photos. Victoria kept looking at them upside down, squinting, holding them at arm's length. Victoria Tremaine was practically blind without the glasses she was too vain to wear publicly. She couldn't have identified Ella in those photos. Someone else had provided them and been pulling Victoria's strings. That someone walked into the basement, Detective Ray Morrison, pointing a gun at both women. Morrison had been running the trafficking operation, using the Tremaines as a front while collecting intelligence from both sides. But Morrison looked at Ella like he was seeing her for the first time. The detective who'd attended FBI briefings where her photo appeared on case files didn't recognize the woman standing before him. Because Ella Ashford didn't exist. She was Elena Ashworth, exactly who she'd claimed to be. A struggling actress who'd answered an FBI recruitment ad 2 years earlier, thinking she was auditioning for a TV consulting role. The FBI had been running her as an unknowing deep cover asset, using her real background while making her believe she was an agent playing a role. The FBI meetings Morrison might have seen her photo in were fabricated cover stories, part of maintaining her false identity. The real FBI team had been monitoring from outside, using her as unwitting bait to expose the leak. When Morrison revealed himself, they moved in for arrests. The glass slipper ring was dismantled, 37 victims rescued, and FBI corruption exposed. The Tremaines got life sentences. Morrison was found dead in his cell before trial from what the medical examiner called acute conscience failure. Elena was offered a real FBI job, but declined. She moved back to Ohio, got married, and opened a theater company. She still can't wear ankle bracelets without flashbacks. Sometimes the princess saves herself, even when she doesn't know she's the princess. And on that note, we close another case file from the darker side of fantasy. The glass slipper trafficking ring reminds us that evil doesn't always announce itself with black hats and mustaches. Sometimes it wears designer gowns and writes checks to charity. If you enjoyed this dive into the twisted world of true crime fantasy, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for more cases that'll make you question everything you thought you knew about fairy tales. And here's something to think about. Drop a comment below telling me which fairy tale you think would make the most disturbing crime story. Your suggestion might just become our next case. Thanks for joining me today in the Fantasy Case Files. Remember, not all stories have happy endings, but they all have truth worth uncovering. I'll see you next time.